Just shy of 2 months on from round 3 of the European Le Mans Series in Imola, we now arrive here in the Ardennes Forest for the annual visit to Spa-Francorchamps, a track that really requires full commitment and bravery as well. And we're here a month earlier than would normally be the case. This had traditionally been a September race, but it's absolutely red hot in Spa. The weather never really stays the same for any more than about an hour, and there is a pretty severe thunderstorm predicted for later on this evening. But thankfully, it should mean that all the qualifying and indeed today's Le Mans Cup race is done and dusted before that. And it's looking at the moment like it will be a dry round 4 of the ELMS, but we will have to wait and see. 4 doses of qualifying to come, though, over the next hour and a bit. And it's Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com and me, Johnny Palmer, to keep you company throughout. And isn't it great to have fans here enjoying the ELMS in glorious sunshine?
It most certainly is. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. It's been quite the weekend already. We've already had 2 races for the Ligier European Series, and 2 crackers they were. Don't catch up with them yet, because we've got qualifying action here for the European Le Mans Series and a race later, also live and free on YouTube for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. This extraordinary circuit, and with the astounding efforts that circuit management have put in here in recent years, Johnny, to improve the spectator facilities, now the opportunity for some of the best views in world motorsport from trackside. And that's what I'm talking about, that extraordinary new grandstand. If you've not been here to watch motor racing in this modern era, now's the time, because that is one heck of a view.
The other thing to mention, which I don't think we have up until this point this weekend, is that the whole of the track's been resurfaced quite recently, in time for the Spa 24-hour race at the end of July. But when the WEC, the World Endurance Championship, were here earlier on in the year, that was on the old surface.
It was.
So some interest in terms of the fastest LMP2 times that we might have at the end of this segment in comparison to the hypercar times.
I think the answer is they're going to be quicker, and they're going to be quicker because of that track surface and because the LMP2 Orecas have got that 40 brake horsepower more back, because, of course, we're not having to stratify them with the hypercars. LMP2 cars have always been mighty, mighty quick, and we're finding out once again in 2024 just how quick they can be. Waiting to see, Johnny, of the 11 cars that come out onto the pit road, whether or not we see at the start of this session the Iron Dames 85 Porsche. Big incident yesterday. Everybody okay? Car fundamentally not okay, and a rebuild from a spare Proton competition car overnight that was not ready for FP2. We'll wait and see whether or not the bright pink Porsche does emerge for this qualifying session.
It is, though, the Iron Lynx trio of Hiroshi Hamaguchi, Axel Jeffries and Andrea Caldarelli, who currently lead the championship by 7 points. They've not actually taken a race win so far, but 2/3 and a second-place finish in Le Castellet.
Opens in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. LMGT3 qualifying has started.
3 different winners so far, but when those winners have taken the success and the trophy, away from that, their other 2 races have not been that good at all. Remember, of course, that one that will is very much in the memory banks and will remain so at Imola, that Iron Dames victory where Michel Gatting had to fend off virtually everybody, and there was a late safety car as well. So coming into Rivazza, 3 cars virtually glued to one another. But the Iron Dames did take the win in Italy, and therefore are only 8 points back from the 63 Iron Lynx crew. Other winners this year, the 50 Formula Racing Ferrari of the Lawson family and Nick Nielsen this weekend, and Racing Spirit of Le Mans, no, beg pardon, Spirit of Race. Also the other winners this year, Duncan Cameron, David Perel and Matt Griffin. So it's anybody's at this stage, still with 3 races to go.
Yeah, you're right. It has been a really extraordinary season of mixed fortune, hasn't it? We're still waiting to get a view of the 85 car to see whether or not that car does emerge. Out comes the Grid Motorsport by TF Aston Martin, the hands of Martin Berry. This car's had a topsy-turvy season as well. Big accidents at the prologue, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That saw them having to use a spare car.
And this is a bronze-only session. You may well know that, but some, of course, joining us part-way through might have stumbled upon us on YouTube. It's a category that definitely involves non-pro drivers, but there is room for either a platinum and a gold or a gold to be part of the trio. But the one thing you must have is a bronze, and then the rest of the field, or rather all of the field, have a silver as well. Your second choice can be either bronze or silver. It's very often the silver driver that makes or breaks a race on a Sunday.
It is indeed. It's 11 cars in this LMGT3 class. It is LMGT3 with the torque sensor system that are carried on the cars in the World Endurance Championship, of course, at Le Mans 24 Hours. 10 of the 11 cars on track at the moment. Johnny Lawson is in the Burgundy number 50 Ferrari 296 LMGT3 for Formula Racing. AF Courses 51 in the Breton livery is Charlie Samani. 55 Spirit of Race, the green with white stripes car. Another 296, of course, Duncan Cameron, and a fourth consecutive Ferrari 296, the 57, the car guy, Takeshi Kimura with Kessel Racing. Racing Spirit Le Mans and their green Aston Martin, the new Evo version of the Vantage GT LMGT3. The 59 car has Derek De Boer. Claudio Schiavone in his orange Proton competition run number 60 Porsche. Iron Lynx is 63, the green Lamborghini in the hands of Hiroshi Hamaguchi. John Hartshorn in JMW Motorsport's red and yellow Ferrari. Still no sign of Sarah Bovey in the Iron Dames number 85. GR Racing's fabulously liveried black and orange Ferrari in the hands of Mike Wainwright, and completing the field, we've already seen the car, the pink and blue Grid Motorsport by TF, another brand new Aston Martin. Martin Berry aboard the number 97 car.
So they've either said there's no chance we can get the car ready for qualifying, or they're literally still working on it now in order to get some precious lap time under its belt, because bear in mind, even if they are allowed to start tomorrow's race, there will be no warm-up session. So this is the last time they can actually shake the new car down.
Indeed.
Unless they're allowed to do it elsewhere, because we've already mentioned that we think there's a curfew at 6 o'clock here tonight, and the Michelin Le Mans Cup race will go right up against that. Will they be able to circulate at a lower speed after 6 o'clock? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm sure the frantic work is continuing on the new 85 Porsche. Looking highly unlikely it will feature in this session, though.
Remember, the part of the difficulty could be, or well, certainly was, that any car that arrived here was a GT3 car, not an LMGT3 car.
Yeah.
So one, you've got to fit the kit, and two, you've got to calibrate it.
Which is often the more difficult
And
thing.
it's on pit road. It's on pit road.
OK, so Graham can see another screen, and yeah, I agree with him, because I can see it as well if I lean over his shoulder like this. My goodness, so it will take part, and that is what they wanted, of course, to make sure that it has done at least a few laps. It doesn't actually matter whether it qualifies in a strong position. They would love it too, of course, but as long as they can do some laps before a long race tomorrow.
This is lastminute.com for Iron Dames, and beyond that, of course, this is Sarah Bovey's home race, so it will matter very much indeed to Sarah. Meantime, the car's on track before you see at home what we can see, which is a bright pink and white, fully liveried Iron Dames Porsche to join this session. First car through to complete a time lap is Takeshi Kimura in the number 57 Kessel Racing car, a 2:25.6. It's under 10 minutes left, and I'm about to see Sarah Bovey take the car, number 85, into this session. She does so now down pit road, and if you're watching live timing, you'll soon see the pit stop marker turn to an outlap marker. We have 11 cars in the session, and that is great news, Johnny.
The green and black Lamborghini Hiroshi Hamaguchi as the championship leader in LMGT3 now goes to the top. 5.2 seconds clear of Takeshi Kimura. Martin Berry over the line in the pink and blue, pink and purple Aston Martin to the quickest time as well. 1.2 seconds clear for Grid Motorsport by TF. And traditionally, these bronze-only sessions get quicker and quicker until the checkered flag on the finish line appears. So you can't tear your eyes from it. The only mitigating thing in all of that is the ambient and also the track temperature. which might mean that this set, a current set of tyres can only deliver a certain lap time to a point, and that is it. Although there's nothing to stop cars coming in for a second set of tyres potentially, because tyres in LMGT3 are unrestricted in ELMS.
Martin Berry is top of the times, 8 minutes remaining in the session. He's the first into the 2:19s ahead of Hiroshi Hamaguchi, 1.2 seconds back, but going much, much quicker this time. Charlie Samani, third quickest in the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari, then Claudio Schiavone. That's your top four, with a number of cars having suffered track limits, deletions for their first flying laps as they try to find where the grip is and where it isn't.
Very late on the brakes there for, is this Kimura? Certainly the graphic for Kimura, but we're also keeping our focus on Hiroshi Hamaguchi as well. This feels like a Porsche.
No,
it is a Porsche.
No, it's Claudio Schiavone, isn't it?
I was thrown by our graphics, but they're monitoring, of course, cars on other parts of the racetrack. So
Kimura goes second. Martin Berry track limits on Sector 1. I think Hiroshi Hamaguchi is about to grab provisional pole position here because he's well up on Martin Berry's current time. Japanese driver with the impeccable English in the number 63, the traditionally green Iron Lynx Lamborghini comes through to complete the lap. That looked neat and tidy. 2:20.3 he was. 2:17.8 is his mark this time. 3 purple sectors. Job done for the moment by Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the 63 car.
There is, I thought, nothing stopping teams coming into pit lane to take on a new set of tyres. No limitation in the race either, at least for LMGT3. Gone are the 2 different versions of the dry tyre though, so there's no intermediate, and well, there are 2 different compounds that you can choose for the race tomorrow. It's the only category in ELMS that has 2 slick tyres at their disposal.
I'm not sure they've yet launched the other compound.
Oh, really?
I don't think they have.
It's in the regs.
Yes, it's in the WC regs as well, but I'm not sure they've yet launched it. This is the, I'm trying to remember the terminology that Goodyear used, the medium plus. I don't think that tire's been launched. Here's the 85 car. No time yet registered for this car. This is the first flying lap. Not on pole position pace at the moment. That's not a surprise. They'll be betting in all sorts of things on this car. And it may well be that we see quite a conservative run in this qualifying session for the Iron Dames, and maybe a go right at the end to see whether or not a lap is possible. Hamaguchi 2:17.873, 1.2 seconds ahead now of Martin Berry. Duncan Cameron moves up to third. Johnny Lawson, Takeshi Kimura, Charlie Samani are the top 6. Sarah Bovey and Mike Wainwright prop up the session, and it's these 2 together on track.
Hamaguchi fastest, and he did that a couple of minutes ago to go back to the top again.
But it's track limits now in Sector 1, so we will not improve on this lap.
But the 2:17.8 is okay. We didn't hear anything about that. 1.2 seconds clear of Martin Berry, but also laying down some good times. Derek de Boer in the 59 Aston Martin. Johnny Lawson went quicker as he crossed the line as well in the number 50 Formula Racing car. Winners in Barcelona in this category.
Yeah, that was a much better time from Derek de Boer. He goes to in 6th place now in the Racing Spirit Le Mans number 59 car, 2:19.7, just under 2 seconds off the time from Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Here comes Sarah Bovey. This will be a lap time on the board for Sarah. Where's it going to put her? And the answer is in 8th. That's fine. It's another lap under the wheels of this car, built overnight to the required standard in LMGT3.
And then it's got to be scrutineered, of course, so it's not a question of literally finishing it and then sending it out into the session. They needed to get the relevant stickers for this fresh car as well. Mike Wainwright's not yet set a time. He's tried, but each time he's been pinged for track limit, so the GR Racing Ferrari sits at the tail end of the field. Here's Takeshi Kimura. I thought for a moment easing out of the throttle, but no, he's at full pace. Do sometimes see that as cars look to buy themselves some clear space. To this, in this case, Derek de Boer in car 59. Claudio Schiavone over the line to improve, 2:22.9, but that car's still in 9th.
Good lap underway from Takeshi Kimura. He's had a fastest overall first sector. What can he do in the second sector? Johnny Lawson ahead of him. Purple in the second sector. The session may not yet be done. Just 3.5 minutes left.
Lawson over the line to third now in car 50.
Incident involving cars 59, that's Derek de Boer, and 57, that's this car. Turn 17, noted. So something's gone on there.
Was there not any room given to you know, as in a potential blocking manoeuvre, or a slight trip up between? Was there contact? Yeah, it doesn't actually say. It just says an incident involving those two, but it's been observed and presumably will be banked to see whether that develops later on in the weekend.
Lawson second for Formula Racing. He's just a tick over a second back.
Well, no, he went third, so that means that something's happened to one of the cars up ahead.
It must be Martin Berry, must have lost a lap time.
He'd done a 2:18.313.
Yeah, he lost that lap time to a Sector 3 track limits infringement.
I only say that because Lawson crossed the line about 30 seconds ago, so I figured he can't have gone around again. Right, so Lawson actually bags a potential front row start because Martin Berry was judged to be off track in car 97.
Iron Dames fans, by the way. We've got Sarah Bovey. She is up into 6th place now.
Nice.
And just making steady progress, I'm sure, reporting back to the team any concerns there are about this newly rebuilt car.
And Mike Wainwright is now on the board. He's done a 2:20.480. That takes the GR car to 9th position and ahead of Claudio Schiavone and John Hartshorn in the JMW Motorsport Ferrari. Number 66, of course. They've run that number for many, many seasons now. Here's the 50 of Johnny Lawson. He went across the line to go third. That's subsequently become second because of Martin Berry being penalised. Hiroshi Hamaguchi, though, still sitting a full second ahead of Johnny Lawson, who was quicker than he's managed already through Sector 1, so a PB there. Then the middle sector is OK, but actually 0.6 of a second away from Hamaguchi's time. Sarah Bovey not able to improve through the first sector on this lap, and we're about to commence the final minute of the session. So if you are going to make a move, it needs to be now. Sarah Bovey will have that in her mind.
Yeah, she's getting quicker with every lap and in every sector. She's just not making, at the moment, and time is now running out, of course, pole position type strides, and I'm not sure that's the mission, is the straight answer.
Why should it be, really? I mean, the last thing they want to do is, you know, throw caution to the wind and potentially do damage to a brand new car.
It's been a very, very tough week for everybody at Iron Links, and for that matter, the Proton Park, the family as well, and the Iron Dames. The loss of Luca Persiani in a terrible off-roading accident earlier this week will be remembered tomorrow on the grid for the European Le Mans Series. But make no mistake, this has been a really terrible week for everybody involved in this effort, and they will be buoyed by the team effort that's required to even put this car on track, Johnny.
And it's a huge moment there for Sarah Bovey, but it's a huge loss for the ELMS as well, because Luca, with some real history in this championship, goes back.
A race winner in GTC for S&P Racing.
For those that remember that, yeah.
2014 at the Red Bull Ring.
But thankfully Sarah Bovey, it didn't end in disaster there, even though she was later on the brakes into turn 18 than she would have wanted. The checkered flag is now out, by the way.
She was only 0.3 off her best time in that lap, so it shows that it was a much improved time that was coming. She was pushing at that point.
Hiroshi Hamaguchi at the moment fastest, and half a second down for the Formula Racing Johnny Lawson driven car, so he's unlikely to go any better. Well, 39.9 is not too shabby through the first sector, but Hamaguchi did a 39.3. So yes, already 0.6 of a second down for the Dane.
Somebody's just lost a lap because Sarah Bovey has just inherited 5th place.
Right, so what happened there?
I'm not sure who's lost a lap, but definitely Sarah Bovey was 6th, is now 5th.
Kimura was under investigation for something that happened at turn 16. So Takeshi Kimura, 7th.
I think it's
fastest.
Charlie Samani. I think Charlie Samani's lost a lap.
For car 51 in his AF Corsa car. So yes, there's been quite a lot happening in terms of obviously times being improved upon, but also times being deleted or investigated, which just dropped one or two names further back. But there's no stopping Hiroshi Hamaguchi. He's not a full second clear, because with the completion of Johnny Lawson's lap, that was an improvement.
It was.
A 2:18.834, but not enough to vault him to the other side of the starting grid. So he gets within a second of Hiroshi Hamaguchi's time, but only to 0.9 of a second. So Hamaguchi for Iron Lynx in their Lamborghini, faster than Johnny Lawson's Formula Racing Ferrari, and the Grid Motorsport by TF, Tom Ferrier's outfit. Martin Berry, the driver, in their Aston Martin number 97, finishing third quickest. And here were the exploits of Hiroshi Hamaguchi then, in that now very familiar paint scheme for the Iron Lynx crew, transposing that from their older cars elsewhere within the GT3 Global category to an LMGT3 car for this season.
Indeed. Great session there from Hiroshi Hamaguchi, very experienced gentleman racer in these GT3 spec cars. It is the 63 car with a 217.873, the only car under 218. In fact, the second place car, the only car under 2, not the other car under 219.
And the gap's gone back to a second, so Lawson clearly had that time deleted as well.
It's been busy in race control, hasn't it?
We go back to where we were, but Lawson's place doesn't actually change. Martin Berry, who thought he was second at one point, was dropped back to third because he had a lap time deleted as well. Ahead of Duncan Cameron, also a race winner this year, number 55, and then Sarah Bovey and Derek de Boer complete the top 6. But here is Martin Berry in the very smartly turned out TF Sport prepared Grid Motorsport Aston Martin, heading through Lufania in front of our super slow-mo cameras. Or is this the final corner, actually? Difficult to tell at these speeds.
It was encouraging to see the senior team management at TF Sport last night, as we were sitting there getting refreshed at the hotel bar. They weren't interested in an after-action drink. It was all action. It was all about strategy. It was all about preparation.
Was that the conversation?
That was the conversation, I think.
They'll pretend it was, even if that wasn't not the reality.
Cracking team, TF Sport. And for that, Iron Lynx, this will be a massive boost to a team that's hurting this weekend. And by the way, please do join us for the grid tomorrow for the European Le Mans Series, where Luca will be remembered.
Yeah, there'll be a moment on the grid to reflect and remember Luca Persiani ahead of an 11:30 start tomorrow morning for the 4th race of the year for the European Le Mans Series. But we need to get some reaction after that pole time. Here is Steph Wentworth.
And it is a very positive reaction indeed from Hiroshi Hamaguchi, driver of the number 63 Iron Lynx. Congratulations, first pole of the season, but it's a little bit bittersweet on such a difficult weekend for you guys and the team.
Yeah, I can't be any happier as we have a success ballast of 30 kg. And the track just condition changes every moment, and it was not easy at all for me. But we managed to get the pole position as a team, and I'm very happy.
And you guys are at the top of the championship currently, but no wins on the board just yet. Could this be the weekend to do it?
I hope so, but I know it's going to be just get tougher and tougher as we get more success ballast. But the most important thing is we finish on the podium and score points every race, and that's what we're going to do.
Consistency is key. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the success ballast that Hiroshi Hamaguchi mentions there is based on the previous 2 results. So from Le Castellet and Imola, if you perform well in there and finish in the top 3, you get a certain amount of weight and also your position in the championship as well. So there could, in certain scenarios, be a car as heavy as 45 kilos. I'll dig out the latest balance of performance. That's not the balance of performance that is governed by the ACO, but as I say, is what is called success ballast for doing well in the championship to serve to equalise the field. So the heaviest car, 10, 20, 25, may well be the 59 Aston Martin. 25, no, 30. 30 kilos actually brings the Lambo as the heaviest car, purely on the success ballast numbers. So again, testament to Hiroshi for dealing with that extra weight.
Yeah, we're still seeing, by the way, a couple of adjustments with a couple of track limits violations being dealt with. Claudio Schiavoni's just lost one. He's 10th of 11 cars. Well, the change in engine note is obvious, and that's because we're about to go running not with LMGT3, but LMP3. And the Nissan-powered era. Just 3 races to run in the European Le Mans Series now, Johnny. The new versions of these cars, the updated versions of these cars, which will accommodate a new turbo V6 engine. Well, in fact, as we look at the rear of the Virage car, if you look between the wing and the fin, they're up there. 3 of the 4 of them. Ginetta out testing their new car, but Duquesne, Ligier and Adès are all here with new look cars, upgradable from these cars. Remarkable package of performance for the money, but in part pretty radically looking, differently looking cars, particularly at the rear, in a couple of cases from the side, in one case from the front. But take a look at your favourite news website for those pictures.
So when you say they're upgradable, if you've already got a Ligier, you strip all of it back to the bare chassis and then you can convert it into the new Ligier.
There is a powertrain conversion kit to allow you to fit the new powertrain, and there is a new bodywork kit.
Wow.
And I think there's a couple of other systems being added as well, but the performance level, we believe, is basically the same or slightly better, and the cost is being kept very reasonable as well. This is an entry-level formula for international sports car racing, and they know where the customer base needs to be. Buy the car, run the car, and because you're dealing with entry-level, fix the car.
Yeah, which can be very important indeed. And obviously there's the natural overlap between the LMP3s in this championship, ELMS, and those that form a significant chunk of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, 2/3 of that field. So yes, it's going to be all change throughout the LMP3 entry. And exciting times to know who is going to be involved in next year's European Le Mans Series. 10 cars about to take part in this session, and about that portion, I'm guessing, will be allocated to the ELMS entry for 2025 as well. It's important to get a healthy number, but very difficult to get in around the P2 entry that we'll have next year, and the LMGT3 entry that we'll have next year.
Every expectation that the broad mix of classes for next season will be broadly the same. So it is going to be a very strong LMP2 entry. There is no shortage of teams wanting to come to this championship.
I can imagine.
We're going to have a core of LMP3. Again, I'm certain of that, and LMGT3.
And I would imagine around about the 10 mark, give or take.
Effectively, we're going to be broadly where we are.
Yeah.
You know, there might be 1 car more or less in each of those classes, depending on who's asking to come. But it is a very nice problem to have for the selection committee of the European Le Mans Series. Make no mistake, Johnny, we'll have a full grid in the European Le Mans Series next year. It is very much oversubscribed. If I had to give you a proportion at the moment, I'd tell you at the moment we've got 50% more cars wanting to come here than can be accommodated.
Blimey. Okay.
And that covers all 3 classes.
So we need to work out a way and to head to venues where we can run a 60-car race.
5, 4, 3.
That might be
2,
a difficult chase.
1. Pit exit is now open. LMP3 qualifying has started.
This guy, he often breaks from the radio. If only we knew who it was.
I know. I've yet to discover. I do hear his voice from now and again floating around the paddock, though, as well. Yes. Often in catering. The queue is still stationary, and that shouldn't be the case. So is James.
It is green. Why don't
it is green. Because I thought actually the RLRM Sport car had stalled, or there was a more serious problem. It's Bailey Voisin, in fact, in the number 5 car, but he does get going now, as does everybody else. Now, unlike the other categories so far today, we're using the Grand Prix pit lane, so the more conventional exit road on the inside of La Source corner. And of course, everybody that will be taking part in the race, that will be pitting at certain points during the 4 hours of Spa-Francorchamps, will come in partway between turns 18 and 19, and then out again on the exit of La Source.
And in LMP3, you don't have the bronze driver having to qualify.
That's correct, yes.
So the cars currently out on track. Of the 10 cars you're going to see in this session, the number 4 car from DCAR Engineering, one of 2 Duquesnes in this field, will be Wyatt Brickercheck. He's out there and running. Bailey Voisin is out in the number 5 RLR M Sport Ligier. Guillaume Henrion, what a run he is having for Team Virage. Championship winner last year in the Ligier European Series and heading for glory. It was, sorry, 2 years ago. It was Michelin Le Mans Cup last year, wasn't it?
Yes.
He took. And he's looking to make all 3 championships in 3 consecutive years for Team Virage in the number 8 Team Virage Ligier. The 11th Euro International car, Adam Alley, went very well last time out. Adam, the Canadian, and he's out there in the dark blue in number 11 car. The 12 WTM by Rinaldi Racing, the unmistakable livery of the WTM number 12 car. Oscar Tuño, the other Duquesne. Gail Julien, the RLR M Sport number 15 car. That is the car that is cherry red, yellow and black. The 17 Cool Racing we're looking at here, and that is Manuel Espirito Santo, who's been quick all year, as has Antoine Duquin, switches this year to Racing Spirit Le Mans, the number 31 car. Ultimate, another cherry red car with white, 35, Jean-Baptiste Lehay, the younger of the Racing Lehay brothers. And finally, Pedro Perino for Inter-Europol competition, the number 88 car that has had its misadventures this weekend. It came back from one of the practice sessions, the test sessions rather, literally in 2 pieces. And the team have done a fantastic job to get that car back out and running.
So they're all silver-rated drivers. You can run a gold in LMP3, but very few teams do. We haven't got any that are doing that this year because it rather compromises the rest of your lineup. As in, I think you can only run with 1 bronze if you have a gold in your team. And most teams wanting 3 drivers to spread across a 4-hour race. So the general combination is bronze, silver, silver. The one exception to that is a team that has been performing very, very well.
Red flag.
Oh, and a wheel off. At least 1 wheel off the DKR car.
That's not good.
And that's presumably just come off the car rather than resulting in any contact.
Yeah, now, if it looks like it's trying to reattach itself, if you're not familiar with your endurance racing, that's not supposed to happen. That's just checking that's regarded as being suboptimal.
Yes.
And dangerous. Let's put in part my glibness. That is not ideal.
It's quite a well-behaved Michelin tyre, though, isn't it? Rolling to safety.
Yeah, it's just park itself there in the. So what's happened here?
Must be a control tyre, Graham. Control tyre.
Oh, stop!
And it just.
He knew there was something wrong, didn't he? He's pulling off there and gone. So I got a horrible.
Is there a fair bit of suspension that came off with that as well?
I don't think so.
No, there's no suspension within the wheel, but I don't think it was a clean brake. Yeah, possibly. Maybe a section of the hub. There's something dangling loose, which now sits in front of the cheese wedge or the bullet, which has to be part of the car. And if either one of those rear cheese wedges are damaged in tomorrow's race, they'll need to be repaired at the next pit stop. But that is strange, to get all the way round to the start of the 3rd sector and then all of a sudden a wheel to depart company. And the teams are normally absolutely on it to make sure that that is not going to be an issue. Perhaps the wheel hub became cross-threaded.
Maybe.
But, I mean, from a distance, the camera's a long way away from the incident, so we are totally guessing. But disaster there for DKR's car, sadly. Yeah. And Wyatt Brickercheck has been a good performer in qualifying throughout the season so far.
Bringing out a red flag. That car will not be rejoining this session. No. I'm sure of it.
Well, he needs 4 wheels on the car to get back in order to rejoin.
Clearly knew there was a problem.
The thing is, it will be a massive vibration. And then maybe it did just come off.
I think it just came off.
But yeah, he will have known that something wasn't right because not far away from the karting track there, and I understand there's quite a big karting meeting going on this weekend.
I gather so.
As I've mentioned earlier on in the day, this is not the normal weekend that we come racing in the ELMS. We're about a month earlier than normal, 3 weeks or so, which also means there's a completely unrelated festival in Spa town, not related to motor racing.
No, indeed.
But it's going to close roads tomorrow.
All of them. That's again, and I'll use the same word once again, suboptimal.
Yes. So let's hope that everyone has worked out a way that they can avoid that and get to the track on time.
So if you are coming to Spa for the European Le Mans Series, and why wouldn't you be?
Definitely worth knowing
excuses
that.
On a postcard too. I live several thousand miles away, you moron. But if you are coming to the track tomorrow, do take a look at that. There are multiple road closures, certainly through Spa town centre and in several other villages around as well, as we found out to our cost when we booked into our Airbnb earlier this week.
Parking restrictions, road closures.
We did ask whether or not we would be able to just drive up carefully on Sunday morning, to which the next door neighbour said that would be difficult. There will be tables in the middle of the
Okay, cake, snacks.
At least there's breakfast. Cake for breakfast.
Cake for breakfast. And if you get very close to a table, then you don't even have to get out of the car as you help yourself. The recovery's gone pretty well. I don't know where... Oh, Wyatt's sitting in the cab, isn't he? I wondered where Wyatt Bricacek had gone. Head in hands, thinking, how has this happened? But sometimes motorsport has a habit of doing that. And then tomorrow, it will be potentially the polar opposite. And who's to say that they won't pull off an amazing result?
How often does that happen? You know, so it starts
to the
back.
Pit line. Session will be resumed on a very short call. Session will be resumed on a very short call.
The ELMS certainly has form there. You know, you think back to moments on a Saturday where you just want to give the whole thing up, and then the following day you go and win the race. So
you tell people, don't you, that extraordinary things happen in endurance racing, and they kind of laugh and look at you in a slightly patronising fashion, and then watch the first race, and they go away and they're never quite the same again.
Pit exit is back to green.
Mentioning
Pit
no
exit
names.
is back to green. Session has been resumed.
Okay, well, the problem is we've not got many cars in the pit lane in order to retake the session. Oh, no, they're all there, but they're not at the end of pit road quite yet.
Here they come, though. So
and
not one car managed to set a flying lap because of that very early red flag for the loss of the wheel for the DKR engineering car. So it will be 10 LMP3 cars. Sorry, apologies. 9 LMP3 cars taking back to the track. No change of course in the drivers taking to the circuit. But it does mean one of the two Decanes will not be on pole.
Indeed so. The other one being the Oscar Tunyo driven WTM by Rinaldi Racing D08, M30 D08. So we didn't really get an idea of who might be up there, even from the sector times either. And generally these sessions evolve anyway, right up until the end, similar to the bronze-only session in the LMGT3.
I think it was just the last race, wasn't it, where we ended up almost out the chair right at the end, where everything changed after the clock had expired, and all the fast lap times came from seemingly nowhere. Once again, this extraordinary place, Spa-Francorchamps. And putting aside my glib comments, by the way, if you ever do get an opportunity to come and watch a major race here, whether or not it be the ELMS race weekend, which is highly recommended, very welcoming paddock for either experienced racegoers, or if you want to bring newcomers, there's lots of people who would love to answer questions about what you're seeing here. There is plenty to do as well. Or indeed, the traditional pre-Le Mans FIA World Endurance Championship race, and other endurance racing is available with the speed weeks around the Spa 24 hours. It's a great place to come. I'm massively impressed with the plans that the Spa circuit management have put in place here to improve the lot of the spectator. Much better seating positions, much better weather protection at many of those seating positions, bedding in very nicely after they too had their own trials, tribulations and tragedy with most of the circuit management here. It is no easy thing in this day and age to put together a world-class venue, and Spa have done that. It deserves support.
Totally, and it's tricky to, you know, you've got a reputation, I suppose, of this place that you have to uphold, but then there's also the new era from a safety perspective, from welcoming in the fans and making their experience better and better. And yeah, it was already a very high benchmark, but they've done a splendid job. Very, very helpful staff in the media centre here for us as well, and when they couldn't help me yesterday with various bits of paperwork, they said, well, the other office down the other end of the corridor will, so come this way, and you know, it's just excellent.
And then because we all got to. Then had you arrested? Yeah.
Well, yes, precisely. I fell for it and went just in the back of this van, Johnny. Just in the back of this van. And we'll get all your documents. And then I was hauled off to a police station. Yeah. What's all that about?
Outside the gates. There you go. We are now deep into this session. It is only 8 minutes to go. Not a lap time has been set because of that early red flag. And we'll stop talking on nonsense and start talking about speedy laps because they are coming. Oscar Tunio at the moment the fastest first sector of this session in the sole remaining Duquesne on track after the elimination from proceedings with the lost wheel from Spa-Francorchamps Decar Engineering car. Decar Engineering amongst the most successful LMP3 teams anywhere, and if that was finger trouble, that's very, very unusual. But WTM by Rinaldi, number 12 car, it's unmistakable livery. Cracking looking car, and very quick too.
Three different pole positions, or three different teams have had a pole position so far this year, incidentally. So 17 Cool Racing, followed by the 15 RLR car, and then the number 4 DKR Engineering, which we no longer have in this session. So will it be a repeat of the other two, or will we get a totally different name again to the top, as now Julien Henrion sets the early pace? Well, that's immediately bettered by Oscar Tunio in the sole surviving Duquesne, number 12. There he is turning right.
43 thousandths of a second, the gap between the two of them. Also completing a lap, but not on that pace yet. Antoine Decaun for Racing Spirit Le Mans in the 31 Ligier. Remember, these LMP3 cars, choice of chassis, but the same powertrain. Currently, this 5.5 litre Nissan normally aspirated engine with an X-Track gearbox aboard this car. Those powertrains are prepared and blueprinted, matched, if you like, performance matched by Oreca. So every single car, whatever the shape, and in this case, 2 of the 4 options are represented with Ligier and Duquesne. They have exactly the same ponies.
Manuel Espirito Santo now quickest. He was the pole sitter in Barcelona at the start of the year in LMP3. It feels like Oscar Tunio should have had a pole already this year, but hasn't. He's not that far away in the WTM.
It's another tiny margin, 22 thousandths of a second. To put that into context, Oscar Tunio is chasing this, is 3.5 tenths up in the first sector. The pace is going to come quickly here, Johnny.
There's the 11 car of Adam Ali, and he joins again Matthew Richard Bell in the only 2-driver lineup, but it is working nicely for them so far this year because they lead the LMP3 Championship by a couple of points over Michael Jensen, Nick Adcock and Gaël Julien in their number 15 RLR M Sport car. Gaël Julien was the pole sitter in P3 at Le Castellet, and here is Gaël now arriving at Le Fagnes corner. Bit of a squirm and a moment coming out of the corner there, maybe as the tyres didn't want to obey, and the same is the case for Julien Henrion, although he controlled that slide nicely at the end of this lap. And where will this put the number 8 car? Julien Henrion goes to the top by 0.367 of a second.
Well, it's about the number 12 car, Oscar Tunio, sees that a quarter of a second to the good more. So Tunio, Henrion, Espirito Santo, Gaël Julien, and it can be Gaël Julien, the next driver of that group, to cross the line. Pace is coming, and again, great to see Johnny young talent emerging through this LMP3 class. These guys will have seen the success of a number of people that predate them, including most recently, of course, Malte Jakobsen, now confirmed as a 2025 Peugeot factory hypercar driver. He was champion 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, so unearthing talent, but also providing them a platform, the new wave of drivers, providing a platform for them to shine and to improve as well. The potential's there, but you've got to unlock that and to throw someone like Malte Jakobsen into the heat of battle, which they certainly did a couple of years ago, and he became used to that at a very young age.
Well, he launched that run towards that career goal with a whitewash, didn't he, of pole positions.
Yeah.
Here comes the Ultimate 35 car. That is a big lock-up and across the infield for Jean-Baptiste Lehay, but third quickest for the Ultimate car.
Now heading through Les Combes corner. Bailey Voisin only setting so far a 2:13.9, so he's got a bit more time to find, you feel. But anybody then between him and Oscar Tuño could yet improve, because there are big names in the world of LMP3 racing. They've been chosen deliberately to do the qualifying time because they're just about the quickest of the three, or in the case of Euro International, the two drivers they've got.
We're going to see, I'm sure, that lap time from Ultimate deleted, because that was a lap time completed with a purple sector in Sector 3 where he clearly went off track. So
yeah.
I think we'll see that catch up, and perhaps that lap time deleted. It is his fastest lap time at the moment. 2.5 minutes to go. Nico Lapierre in the Brains Trust for Cool Racing. Busy man in endurance racing at the moment, running Cool Racing, and of course as an Alpine factory driver. Also manages Melty Jacobsen these days for a rival hypercar team.
Indeed. Here's Manuel Espirito Santo, the young Portuguese for Swiss outfit Cool Racing. So the 17 car about to go over the line.
To the top.
Goes top with a 2:11.8.
Significant jump forward. Almost 2 tenths clear.
Pedro Perino's a good time as well, a 2:12.0 to put him into second position. So Tuño losing ground as a result, as is Julien Henrion as well, slipping to fourth place.
Henrion is on a good lap here though, and can improve his time if he can sustain his current pace. It's a 17 Cool Racing car to the top of timing and scoring, and Espirito Santo continuing on at a pace. Into Europol car Pedro Perino, almost literally in his wheel tracks, both on the timing and scoring screens and on track, and both are up on the provisional pole time, as is Gaël Julien in the RLR Sport car, and what will be, for the top two, their final crack at it. Just looking, I think Gaël Julien is ahead of him, isn't he, on track here? Those three running together.
A whole wave of improvements through that first sector, as you point out, and now Henrion's gone an absolute best through the middle sector with a 59 flat.
Don't count out changes here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars within a couple of tenths of what is the current provisional pole. And one of them might just get another crack at this.
Surely improvement to come from Julien Henrion, who currently sits fourth, but there's a squeal of tyres in the background, and I don't know where that was. It might have been at Les Combes, it might have been at Campos.
17, it's Espirito Santo. It is the provisional pole sitter, so now he's a sitting target.
Yeah.
He can't improve on this lap. Others can, and others are. Can they improve enough? 2 sectors in, Pedro Perino is outside the provisional pole pace by 13 thousandths of a second. Here's Gaël Julien. He's up on pole pace at the moment by thousandths. Adam Ali crosses the line. Gaël Julien to the top. RLRM Sport to the top.
2:11.847. So Gaël Julien on course for the first repeat pole position of the LMP3 season. But mating for, well, Espirito Santo will not improve. Pedro Perino could potentially, no, he's already gone through and is in third.
Oscar Tuño got through to start another lap, and he's a 1.5 up after the first sector. He could do this almost 3 minutes after, well, 2.5 minutes after, the checkered flag came out.
So he's 4 tenths up on Julien Henrion, who is still in the middle sector now, but has done a PB in the early part of the lap. And Oscar Tuño, as you say, could be even better, on course to be over a tenth faster if he can keep this up.
It's the middle sector, the long sector. It's about a minute through this second timing sector. At the moment, Gaël Julien holds pole position. We've got 2 quick cars out there, and they're both in the hunt. Gillian Henrion is 40,000th off with 1 sector to go. Oscar Tuño is well over a 10th up with 1 sector to go. And Antoine de Cam going quickly as well. I don't think he's quite on pole pace, but not far away from it.
Tuño's lost too much time, I'd say. He's now all of a sudden 4/10 the other way.
So could it be Henrion that is the challenger here?
Henrion's closest. So what is the number 8 car going to do? Surely it's going to be an improvement from 4th position. Keep our eye on Tuño, of course, as well.
No, he's 3 seconds off. He's been off.
Or he just backed out of it. But why would you back out when you're only 0.04 of a second away? Tuño crosses the line. There's no change there either.
Antoine de Cam has dropped time too. He's improved his time, but not enough to lift him up from 9th. So that, I'm afraid, the double challenge just drifted away, didn't it? It is Gaël Julien, LMP2 Sport, the 15 car. Cracking race performance from him in the opening round this year, Johnny, and a blinding qualifying performance here at Spa-Francorchamps.
But strange, towards the end, precisely what happened to Gillian Henrion, we may find out in due course.
That's Espirito Santo's moment.
Yes. So there was the squeal of tyres, and then very, very wide indeed for the number 17 car.
But what we didn't see is what happened at the end of that lap to Gillian Henrion. He dropped seconds.
It was a...
my guess is going to be bus stop.
Yeah, maybe overshooting it, perhaps. So to give you a comparison, his best time through there earlier on was a 34.2. He ended up going through sector 3 at a 36.9. So lost 2.5 seconds.
So this is the first pole position for LMP Sport in their new era. Team changed hands in the off-season, now based in Silverstone. Used to be, of course, in Bolton, in northwest of England, but now under the management of Alan McGarity down in Silverstone, with very many of the same group, the Belgian boy band of Belgium, the Bolton boy band, as I used to call them. And I have to find another B somewhere near Toaster. And to send a postcard to stop talking nonsense, you blithering idiot.
Bister's too far, isn't it?
Bister's a little bit too
Banbury.
far.
Brackley. There's a few around there, but then none of them are particularly where they are based now. But it's a great way to continue on. They've always been a very strong team. And can they now back this up tomorrow with a cracking result? LMP Sport take a pole position for the 2nd time this year. And congratulations to Gaël Julien as well for repeating that feat from Luc Castellet. Just 0.04 of a second back. Cool Racing's number 17, Manuel Espirito Santo, despite a late off-track moment, but he'd already set that time. Pedro Perino and Gillian Henrion are 3rd and 4th fastest, ahead of Oscar Tuño and Jean-Baptiste Lehay, and then the championship leader, Adam Ali, to start from 7th position with Matthew Richard Bell. Let's, though, head to the RLR camp to hear from Steph Wentworth.
Hello from the RLR Sport Garage. I'm with Nick Adcock, driver of the number 15 RLR Sport. Your teammate, Gaël Julien, just put it on pole for the 2nd time this season. Great result for you guys.
Absolutely terrific. We set the pole at Le Castellet. And you probably saw on the TV feed there, he was just tucked up a bit too tight behind your international car. We only had 10 minutes after that red flag, and I think he sacrificed a lap to give himself some space, and then he gave himself 1 lap to do it, and he did it. Very, very tight, but yeah, we'll take that pole. Brilliant driving from Gaël.
And it's really competitive, this LMP3 category at the minute, and you guys are, fighting consistently for the wins, for the poles. How competitive do you expect tomorrow to be in Spa?
Incredibly. I think now, if you look at these conditions, there is probably the best you'll ever get at Spa. Sun shining, track temperature is just about perfect. I think tomorrow the high is about 18 degrees, so it's cooler. How that affects the setup, I don't know, but yeah, we're up for the fight. I love this place, I love this circuit, the best one in the world. So yeah, whatever the result, we still really enjoy driving here, but we're obviously going for the win.
All right, best of luck. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nick Adcock talking to Steph Wentworth. Just a mention of Gaël Julien, who I met for the first time at Le Castellet. I'm remembering that conversation now. 18 years old. It was like talking to a 35-year-old.
It wasn't
and I mean that in the best possible sense.
Wasn't he impressive?
Yes.
You know,
and he's still, in the very early stages of his life. He could have a great career in front of him, but the old head on young shoulders was mightily impressive for me.
I remember we were talking a while ago about Milton Jakobsen. It's another young man with two proper gentleman drivers, experienced gentleman drivers. This is the essence of LMP3 racing in the European Le Mans Series at the moment. And who's to say there's not great results ahead for that trio, including right here. It's going to be LMP2 Pro-Am next, by the way. That's 2 classes down, 2 to go, both with the Oreca 07s, because that's what we have here for each of these entries, with the Gibson 4.2 litre engine. It's the 88 car. But a quick word, by the way, for the hard-working boys and girls at Inter Europol. That car, I said it earlier, came back on a truck in 2 pieces 2 days ago, and that car right up there in the order. 17 car, Manuel Espirito Santo will be disappointed with that off on a push lap, but they're right there in the mix. But not pole position today for Cool Racing, the up-and-coming squad from Switzerland. It is the old masters at LMP3 from RLRM Sport, but Gail Julien, their new young star, bringing forward the number 15 car to take pole position in this 10-car LMP3 class.
So into Europol competition to start from 3rd position, courtesy of Pedro Perino's lap time. The Portuguese, who shares with Kai Aski and with Alexander Bukantsov. And yes, we then ran through the car starting from 2nd place and the pole sitting Gael Julien that he shares with Nick Adcock and with Michael Jensen. But moving forward now to the top-notch LMP2 cars, but this is Pro-Am because the driver combination is different, as in if you have a bronze in your lineup, then you're entered into LMP2 Pro-Am, but there's nothing at all different in the spec of Oreca 07 and with the 4.2 litre Gibson engine.
Now the change, of course, we've just had a qualifying session for LMP3 where any of the drivers can drive. In LMP2 Pro-Am, it's your bronze driver. So these are the talented, non-professional drivers aboard these 8 Oreca 07s. DCAR Engineering's number 3 car, it'll be Andre Le Torres Canal and aboard that car. No, 19 from Team Virage, 2nd qualifying crack for Tony Wells aboard the number 19 car. Algar Pro Racing will be Crichton Tudis, winners last time out. LMP2 Pro-Am, the Greek driver in the number 20 car. 21 for United Autosports will be Daniel Schneider from Brazil. Nielsen Racing field the 24 car with John Falm from the United States, and a fellow American driver, Rodrigo Salas, is in the Richard Mille by TDS 29 car. Giorgio Roda, who's been right up in the thick of qualifying action all season in LMP2 Pro-Am, pilots the number 77 car. He's still on pit road at the moment. And then the 83 from AF Corsa, it will be Francois Perrodo, who's becoming the grandfather, if you like, of this field. Year after year after year, whether it's GTE machinery or LMP2 machinery, Francois has been a big part of this and winning races and titles all the while. It's been
quite a bit easier to follow the narrative of the pole setting times and drivers, more specifically driver actually in the singular, in LMP2 Pro-Am, because it's all been about Giorgio Roda in the number 77 Proton competition car. There have been 3 qualifying sessions and he's been quickest in all of them. So he's looking to try and do a Malte Jakobsen from a couple of years ago, only this time in LMP2 Pro-Am.
But last time out, if I recall correctly, we did get quite a close contest right at the end. Was it somebody pulled out an absolute blinder at the end? And I've got a funny feeling, was it Tony Wells came out with a cracker?
It might have been Sales, because there was half a second separating Roda from the 29 crew of Richard Mille by TDS. So Sales was in the mix, Perrodo was a bit further away. Tony Wells qualified in 4th in Imola.
But of course, the other thing that we tend to, we deal, of course, with racing guys, data matters. You've also got to get it done. You've also got to be error-free. And, you know, as we see it more or less every racing weekend, the margin between triumph and disaster and the consequences are well, minuscule to utterly dramatic. Here we go then, 12 minutes left of the session. who is going to be the first to show here. And all too often, it's not the first to show that comes out on top. It's those that look after the machinery, get the best out the tyres, and it's all about the tyres in qualifying. What bite can you get? What bite can you keep? Is it 1, 2, 3 push laps? And these amazing cars, this LMP2 formula that's been with us now since 2017, continues to produce amazing performance. And with the additional performance doled back to the LMP2 cars, we'll see these cars going more quickly in the next session and then to the pro drivers. But these gentlemen drivers, Johnny, love these machines.
The other thing that the teams are very mindful of is not taking too much meat off these race tyres, because you don't get a separate allocation for qualifying. It's only 12 individual tyres for tomorrow's race, so that's 3 sets, and you have to use the race tyres in qualifying. So you want to use ideally 1 set and do it in 2 laps. Well, 1 lap would be great, so an out lap, a flying lap, an in lap, but these being bronze drivers, they tend to need a bit more time than that.
We'll just report message we're seeing on screens here. There's potential drama for the pole-setting LMGT3 team from Iron Links. Driver Hiroshi Hamaguchi set that pole-setting time under investigation for possible violation of Part Ferme rules after qualifying. Ooh. That would be disastrous.
It would indeed.
John Falb, by the way, first to set a session-leading time into the 2:08s aboard the number 24 Nielsen car. There's more to come from this session, of course. Falb, Perodo, Rodrigo Salas, Tony Wells, Andres Latour are the 5 drivers so far to set a time.
Who at the moment was second fastest in LMGT3? Was that the 50 Lawson Formula Racing car?
Yes.
So they'll be the potential team to inherit it if there is an issue with Iron Lynx's Lamborghini. Okay. And more to the point, that will shuffle the Lamborghini back to 11th place.
Remember, there's all sorts of ways in which, depends on what's happened.
Of course.
That's a straight answer. It could be a financial penalty if indeed there's been an offence committed. But
it's just trying to build attention, really.
Of course we are.
But yeah, Formula Racing will be paying close attention to that, because it may well be a pole position for them, but we will allow the relevant investigations to take place. Might know a little bit more by the end of the LMP2 qualifying, but this is LMP2 Pro Am. We've had 6 minutes of it already, and it takes a fair time to get the cars out, around, and then starting flying laps. But Giorgio Roda, again, up to his old antics, a 207.844.
Yeah, quarter of a second clear with a lap that included just 1 purple sector, so there's more to come here. But Roda from Falb now. That's, by the way, Giorgio Roda's first flying lap attempt. 207.8. 208.0, 209.4 for Francois Perodo. Rodrigo Salas outside 210 at the moment. Lots more to come, and just about everybody going quicker as we speak. Francois Perodo as I speak. In fact, Roda, I think, has lost that lap. No, he's not.
No, Falb's gone quicker.
The other 3 cars have gone quicker. Falb's gone quicker, Perodo's gone quicker, Wells has gone quicker. Yellow flags at turn 8, but removed immediately. 205 is now the pace. John Falb takes the lead in this session.
So Falb with a 205 flat. Perodo very close to him, did a 205.1, which will vault the Frenchman to second behind the American driver. Tony Wells improved to 3rd as well. So Giorgio Roda, he's in pole, and blink, and all of a sudden he's back down to 4th spot in the 2nd row.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, that lap from Francois Perodo included 2 purple sectors, 1st and 3rd sector, and was still a 10th off John Falb, so he must have done a monstrous middle sector, the man from Nielsen Racing, the number 24 car.
Yeah, lives in Vegas these days. John Falb, originally from Texas, though, which is, funnily enough, where the World Endurance Championship will be going next weekend.
Yeah, on our weary way.
There's been a lot of that, hasn't there? Back-to-back ELMS into World Endurance Championship races.
I'd like to thank everybody for their efforts in doing that, as would my wife, who at the moment is at home struggling with a 9-month-old husky.
I thought the idea was to try and sort of contain ACO racing, you know, within little pockets through the year.
I thought you meant contain the husky, but the answer is yes, we are.
You're trying to do that as well.
John Falb, 3.5 tenths up on his own best time. Francois Perraudot, 3.5 tenths down on that mark. Giorgio Roder improves, but can only go third, but he's only 15 thousandths of a second off Francois Perraudot in second, and just over a tenth off the provisional pole time. But that mark is about to be moved. The needle is going to be moved by John Falb. He comes through the final turn and improves to a 2:04.670. He's now 4.5 tenths up on his nearest tormentors, Francois Perraudot and Giorgio Roder.
Excellent effort. He seems to be doing this effortlessly, John Falb. He's been here many, many times now, and sometimes there are circuits that you just click with. So Falb will be relishing this. Is there anybody else in the field that can get anywhere close? Giorgio Roder's only 15 thousandths of a second slower than Francois Perraudot, so there's every chance that second and third fastest times may be exchanged.
So John Falb did put in a purple sector on that lap, but we saw Giorgio Roder do the last purple sector there. That's going to be a critical part of this performance. What can the Italian pull out the bag on this lap? He's 4.5 tenths down on provisional pole. On this lap, he's 3 tenths down after sector 1. Someone's going to be running wide here. That is the DKR car of Alexander Matchell. No, it's not.
No, Latour, Cannon.
Latour.
Yeah. And the rejoin is always the most dangerous there. You see a car going out wide, you think, well, that's fast, and then, oh, hang on a minute, they've got to cross that band of grass to get back to the tarmac. And, yeah, it wasn't a particularly comfortable ride there for Andres in the DKR car.
As we saw in the World Endurance Championship race here with Oliver Rasmussen, I think it was, ran off at exactly that point, ripped the front and the underside out of his Porsche 963. So it's not just a roll across the grass, is it?
No.
It's quite the ride.
I definitely had a memory of something key happening in the WEC, but you remembered precisely who it was, so well done.
John Falb, by the way, goes through second sector. He's 100th second off his current fastest time. Giorgio Roder does not improve on that time. I think he's had a bit of a moment, lifted off in the final sector. Not a competitive lap time. 4 minutes to go. 2 more opportunities to perform here. Putting money against him?
I'm not.
Falb completes his lap 24 thousandths off. That is consistency.
Francois Perraudot heading through the final chicane and over the line.
Tony Wells improves.
Yes, doing a 2:06.0. And Rodrigo Sales going faster as well. So up ahead of Tony Wells now for Richard Mille by TDS.
So it's Falb, Perraudot, Roder, Sales, Wells, Schneider, Lantudis and Latour. The important figures here, we've got 3 drivers within half a second, 4 within a single second, 6 within a second and a half, and all of a sudden Francois Perraudot pops in a first sector time, 2 tenths up on pole position time.
At the moment, John Falb has gone all Giorgio Roder on us and is bossing this session, but Perraudot wants to change that. And yes, on course as things stand to be a couple of tenths just under, faster than John Falb's effort, but can he sustain that for the rest of this lap?
After the first sector on the current laps, Falb is 400ths off his best pace. Perraudot is 2 tenths up on that pace. Giorgio Roder, who clears sector 2, is a quarter of a second off that pace, and Rodrigo Sales is under a tenth off pole position, and that's the top 4. This could all change.
They all seem to be finding speed and pace in different areas of the track as well, and that is down to your driving style, maybe, where you are most comfortable with the setup that you've gone for, and that's not just the setup for the bronze, because the other drivers in the combination want to be happy as well. Roder to second fastest, so he's now quicker than Perraudot, but remember, Perraudot hasn't yet completed his lap, in which he's done an absolute best. Although the target time for Perraudot is now slower.
Because he had a poorer
middle sector.
Mm-hmm. Improvement potentially underway here for Rodrigo Sales as well, though, is John Falb going to suffer at the end of this session for his consistency in the middle of the session. Has Roda or Sales looked after the rubber better?
Sales second fastest, so he's gone ahead of Roda now to the front row to make it an All-American front row in LMP2 Pro-Am, joining John Falb, and only 0.177 of a second between the two of them.
0.449 of a second separates the top four, and now Jean Falb goes through and is up on his previous time after sector one. There's still pace in this track, Johnny. Remember, the X factor here is a resurfaced Spa-Francorchamps. Everything we learned from the FIA World Endurance Championship, and whether or not sector one, sector two, sector three had life in it, throw it away.
So you've got grip levels at an absolute high because of the new surface, but also we're now north of 40 degrees on that road surface. So the tyres are extra sticky because of the nice warm surface. Absolutely roasting here today at Spa-Francorchamps. 28 in the air, which was higher than I was expecting. I thought 27 was going to be the high, and we've reached it earlier in the day than expected as well, just ticking around after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a Michelin Le Mans Cup race to come in less than an hour's time.
Here comes Giorgio Roda. And, sorry, Giorgio Roda, he's going very quickly here. He could go to the top here. He's at a purple middle sector. Could Roda grab it back here? He's a 10th up on the target time. He goes to the top. He goes to the top by exactly a 10th of a second. What response can we see from John Falb? What response can we see from Rodrigo Sales? He's going very quickly indeed. What about Francois Perraudot? Tony Wells is going quickly. Dan Schneider's going quickly. There's the checkered flag. John Falb will get another crack at it. That's not a good enough time. He stays second. Sales coming towards the end of the lap for the Richard Mille by TDS squad.
2:04.5 for Sales to the pole position by 33 thousandths of a second. Sales has no doubt snatched it, although Roda's still got 1 lap to go, but he's not fast enough through the first sector. I was about to say Roda has pulled it out of the fire there to complete this seamless record of pole positions, but it's looking like it will end with the hat trick, because Rodrigo Sales, who's now very, very slow down the hill towards Eau Rouge.
I think he might think he's taken the checkered flag.
He's taken the checkered flag. And now maybe run out of fuel because the car was so light in order to do that 2:04.537. No, he's just taking it easy, isn't he?
Looking for any other sector time that tells us this session is still alive. John Falb is not out of this, you know. He's under a 10th off after the first sector. It's a 10th and a half off for Giorgio Roda. Those middle sector times from those two drivers are going to be absolutely critical to whether this session may still be alive.
It's an excellent point. John Falb then heading, well, Roda we catch a glimpse of first of all, and Roda is further around the track in comparison to John Falb, and Roda only half a second away.
Are they not? No, that's...
No, Falb's now going into the final sector, but he's done a 58.4, which is a couple of seconds away,
I think
and
it's
surely
done. It's done.
Will decide it in the favour of Rodrigo Sales. And Richard Mille by TDS came very, very close to Roda at Imola, and you remembered that being half a second away. Yeah. Well, now he's gone quicker, and John Falb has given it up. Yep, he will pit in third position, third fastest.
He will be gutted. He was top of the times until the last couple of rapid laps, and he loses it by 0.133 of a second. Not to second, but to third.
Yeah.
Giorgio Roda would have thought he'd done enough there, but he ends up 33 thousandths of a second back behind this man. Rodrigo Sales moved to the returning Richard Mille by TDS squad this year, and he's clearly found a happy home, and he takes pole position.
And that is what it means to the team. There is Matthias Besch in the white-topped TDS shirt. Big grin from the Swiss driver there, and the rest of the team. This is what it means, you see. You wait such a long time to take a pole, but they've done it. Richard Mille by TDS.
So TDS, there is Olivier Panis, because TDS now service Panis Racing as well, so he knows what that means in a team environment. But after a year away from the European Le Mans Series with a two-car effort in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, back this year looking after the team under their name and the Panis Racing squad this season. That is a cracking qualifying result for the team, but I'm going to say it, particularly for Rodrigo Sales.
Yes.
Started his LMP2 career with a Asian Le Mans Series title. There is the session classification, Johnny.
And the top 4 positions are all within half a second of one another. There's only a gap of 33 thousandths between the effort from Rodrigo Sales and Giorgio Roda, who'd been taking all the poles prior to this weekend. Nielsen Racing's John Falb will be tinged with disappointment, but he still gets a second-row start in LMP2 Pro-Am, ahead of the AF Corsa number 83 car of Francois Perrodo, then Daniel Schneider for United Autosports, Tony Wells for Team Virage, 6th fastest, then Crichton Lendudis and Andres Latour for Algarve Pro and DKR Engineering, respectively. Steph Wentworth will be eagerly closing in on this story to make sure that we can hear from Richard Mille before we then open the stage to LMP2 proper, if you like. But clearly the amount of delight down in the garage was palpable. And let's head down there in person with Steph.
I am down in the garage with the very happy teammates from the man who has just put it on pole, Gregor Salce and Matthias Besch. Congratulations to you guys as a team. It's fantastic, really. It's so competitive up at the front. We had no idea who it was going to be on pole until right at the very end.
Thank you, but big congrats to Rodrigo. Rodrigo did the lap, a mega lap, so big congrats to him. And yeah, first time on pole this year, so now we need to push for the race.
Okay, and as I mentioned, it is very competitive, Matthias. What do you think you guys will be able to do? Do you think you'll be able to convert this pole position tomorrow? It's a very long race, it's a very difficult track.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be a long race. We know the competition is so tough, and you saw, like 3 positions in 1/10. It's funny because we talk about it with Rodrigo, and I told him between pole and P2 or P3 can be only 1/10 or even less, so try to maximize every detail, and I'm glad he could transform his effort and all this effort he's putting into racing into that lap time. And no, it's great and it's rewarding for him, and yeah, happy. It's best is to start in front. We know it's very hard to overtake here, so we have to see. But it's a long race, but at least I'm super happy for him and for the team.
Okay, we'll give Rodrigo our congratulations, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Now, for the Panis car, we're going to cheer for them.
Best of luck. Thanks, guys.
That, of course, is in the LMP2 class, which we'll see just in a moment. But the storylines that we've got, actual and potentially, is a great storyline, of course, for that team, and particularly for Rodrigo Sales, who, of course, is the anchor for that team. But Giorgio Roda, that's the end of his pole-setting run for the season. And here's another extraordinary fact that could have been, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but didn't, is that would have been John Falb's first ever pole in any class in the European Le Mans Series. In going to the title in LMP3, never set pole position. Yep. In going to the title in LMP2 Pro-Am, never took a pole position. And it was right there for him. And I know exactly what he's going to say when I see him later this afternoon.
I think I've just heard a knock on our commentary box door, in fact, because he's listening to what you're saying.
And I can tell you that it's not a broadcast comment that's going to be coming. He's going to be gutted.
No, indeed. And that was the best chance to date that he's had. However, it's progress. It's progress which may well result in a pole before the year is out.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is now green for LMP2 qualifying session.
Well, if you've enjoyed the 3 sessions leading up to this, there is a strong argument to say that this is going to be the best of the 4 because you think about the calibre of drivers that the European Le Mans Series can attract nowadays, and also the gaps in calendars around other major sports car commitments and events. There are only 6 races in this championship, 1 every month, just about, with the exception of June, because everyone's at Le Mans. But, I mean, we often do this, we probably will do it. We'll run through the names that are taking part in this session and some of their duties away from the ELMS paddock. And, I mean, they're just massive personalities.
Absolutely right, and it's been great entertainment all the way through. What we are going to see, I'm pretty certain, Johnny, to stick with us, are the fastest laps you've ever seen around Spa-Francorchamps in an LMP2 car in this session, because the grip levels have come up. We're back to something like about 580 brake horsepower from these cars. Slightly down on what they were at their peak, but they're far more developed cars now. And what we're looking for in a qualifying lap record, I think is a 2:0, let me have a look, 4? We'll check that.
You check that. I'll tell everyone.
2 minutes, 0.7, my apologies. 2 minutes, 0.735. Something to look for in that is that that's already quicker than the fastest hypercar lap here, because of course that was done on old tarmac. So anything under 2 minutes, 0.747 beats the current hypercar lap record. Anything under 2 minutes, 0.735 beats the outright qualifying lap record in LMP2 in this current formula, which of course is the fastest of the LMP2 formulas. And I think we're going to see it go, and I think we're going to see it go by a distance.
Pole position in Barcelona was taken by United Autosports, their number 22 car. It was driven by Ben Hanley. Then a month later, we headed to Circuit Paul Ricard at Le Castellet. Joop van Houten was the star there by under a quarter of a second to be faster than Louis Delatraz. So Joop van Houten in the 28 car from EDEC Sport.
It's another one right at the death, wasn't it?
Yes. And when we thought it was all done and dusted in the favour of Delatraz, and in fact, no. And then the 65 car from Panis Racing. That's the one that Matthias Bech said he would be cheering on, because they're just the other side of their garage. And that was a Charles Milesi time, a 1:30.8 around Imola, but we're obviously very different lap times here at Spa, a much longer track. But that is 3 different cars for pole position. Could we make it a 4th different outfit?
Well, there's 14 to choose from, so let's tell you which talents you're going to see this afternoon for the remaining 12 minutes of this session. That's just about the whole field, by the way, with the exception of the Duquesne car, opts to come in and switch tyres. In the number 99 Lynx Proton car, it is Lamborghini factory hypercar driver Matteo Cairoli. Vector Sports number 10 features the talents of ex-F2 champion and Cadillac hypercar driver Felipe Drugovich. Louis Delatraz, Acura factory GTP driver in the 14 AO by TF car. Ben Hanley, what a career he's had in sports cars and Indy cars, as well as stellar karting career, by the way, in the 22 United Autosports car. The sister 23 car in the hands of ex-Formula 1 racer, DTM racer and current Peugeot hypercar driver Paul Di Resta. Alex Lynn, Cadillac factory driver and defending champion here in the 25 Algarve Pro Racing Oreca. Nielsen Racing, Will Stevens, current Jota, Hertz Team Jota hypercar driver. Will Stevens is aboard the 27 Nielsen Racing car. EDEC Sports 28, Joop van Houten, already a pole setter this year and looking to go one more. James Allen, the winner at Daytona's 24-hour race on the line a couple of years back for Duquesne team in the number 30 car. 34th Inter-Europol competition, another ex-F2 star, Luca Giotto. Ritomo Miata is the junior driver and reserve driver for Toyota Gazoo Racing. He's aboard the number 37 Cool Racing car. Tom Dillman, ex-Van Wall driver in hypercar. He pilots the 43 Inter-Europol car. Fred Vesti, another star in single-seaters, starred at the Goodwood Festival of Speed aboard a McLaren F1 car, a Mercedes F1 car very recently in the 47 Cool Racing. And then Charles Milesi, an Alpine hypercar factory driver in the Panis Racing number 65, rounds out a star-studded 14-car field. And we've already got times coming in.
Yeah, because we're already over 5 minutes into the session, and the first time to be clocked is James Allen in the black with the green detailing of the Duquesne car. Now, this familiar paint scheme that they've adopted for at least the last 4 or 5 years. So Duquesne have just been waiting in the wings, I suppose. Could be a name on your list for a potential pole position today, if we are going to continue to keep changing it up. All of these cars running on Goodyear tyres, and it's a 2:08.6 for the Aussie. But so many other drivers out there who could potentially go a little quicker, and I'm sure James Allen's not done with that yet. He will have been deliberately staying within the confines of the track limits to make sure he gets one time on the board, and then he can start to chisel away at that, get better and better. Who will be the next car likely across the line? 47 about to do that, which is the Cool Racing car of Fred Vesti. But again, that is to begin a flying lap, so just completing an out lap.
Because obviously the King team car stayed out. Everybody else came in after scrubbing in some slicks, I think. But the lap times are going to come thick and fast in about 2.5, 3 minutes time. Again,
you can only use race tyres in these sessions. You only get 12 individual tyres as well, so therefore 3 sets. So it might be wise to scrub maybe your starting set in, or indeed your final set if you want to complete the race, although that will probably be done on a double stint. On the whole, these LMP2s come the race tomorrow will do about a 40-minute stint time, so you're looking at 6 stints, but only 3 sets of tyres, so you're going to have to double on 3 occasions.
So, to give you an idea of the progression of these lap times, that's James Allen having set the second rapid lap time for his car. No one else has yet completed a flying lap, and he's just taken 5 seconds off that best time. It's a 2:03, and we've still got a lot more to come here, I think.
Yeah, depending whether that was a stickered set of tyres, because you have to get rid of the release agent, and also just allow the tyres to come up to temperature. There are no tyre warmers permitted in ACO rules racing anymore either. So that's going to be an interesting thing to keep our eye on, although it's less of an issue as it was, for instance, in the World Endurance Championship race here last year when it was really cold.
Yes.
Here this weekend, we should have, well, temperatures in the race, late teens.
Yes.
Which we could only have dreamt of, really, the May before last. Some big incidents related to tyres being cold, so much so that the ACO changed the rules then for Le Mans last year.
Indeed, controversially from Porsche's point of view and from Toyota's point of view in particular. Ferrari lobbying hard for that after a big incident about here for Antonio Fuoco. Ended up in the wall just to the right of the old endurance pits. Time's beginning to come through now. Nothing remotely close as yet. It's James Allen's 2:03, but trust me, that's going to come.
Well, Milesi is generating some interest with the 35.3 through the first sector. So the 65 car could be the next one to appear at the sharp end. But there's lots and lots of blue if you're looking at one particular screen, or green as personal best times. Purple is the key one. There are yellow flags though now at
turn 11.
Exit of Pouon.
Oh, it's 22 car. That is Ben Hanley, currently 3rd quickest, but he's off the road. Now, can that car? I don't think he's going to get the car out of there.
Looks to be a long way off circuit though. So they'll be able to give him a bit of time to see whether he can get the car restarted.
Clattered the curb on the outside as he turned in. Red flag it is.
And then flung the car in, and the rear tyres were not going to grip. So Ben Hanley starting the year with a pole position, but it might be that that car is now out of the session, not permitted to restart.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exactly that. So it'll need to be towed out or lifted out from there.
They might just leave it there rather than eat into too much time.
Oh, and 47's off as well.
In an unrelated incident, surely.
There was no other car near.
But I don't think that's Lecombe. That's not Pouon. So they've gone off in completely different parts of the circuit.
And the key here is which incident caused the red flag.
It's a good point. I'm almost certain it was Ben Hanley. This has happened afterwards.
Quite an odd place to have that incident.
Yes. And it's difficult to tell whether there were red flags out already. You're very unlikely to have an incident like that with the reds out because you're needing to be slowing down and being prepared to stop. There's a red flag on the top of the tyre barrier there, close to the marshal post.
It'll be good to see that incident again with the Cool Racing car.
I think one of the issues was that the camera was panning around to see it only as the car came to rest. So whether another camera close to Lecombe caught the incident in full, we'll have to wait and see. But this car potentially out as well. But I take your point that Fred Vesti will say, well, I didn't cause a red flag, I've just gone off after it or slightly before it. Ben Hanley had been sitting there for quite some time, and it was the stranded Ben Hanley car in the gravel which forced the decision about the red flag. They gave him a moment or two, but as soon as he realised he was beached, no other option.
On a quick lap, Fred Vesti was 4/10 up on the pole, the provisional pole time after the first sector. And that's Ben Hanley out of the number 22 car. Won't risk the toe because it'll just drag all the gravel in the world with it wherever it's going. So they'll lift the car with these universal lift bars that are on all of these interventions. They'll do that. Here comes the lifting vehicle. Might get that car back to the track surface to complete the lap, which will further delay this session because it's not that far round.
No, that's true. But there has to now be an announcement from Eduardo Freitas or someone else in the race control office to say which cars, if any, can rejoin.
Yes,
because that is a little bit of a grey area now that we've got 2 cars off. Still maintain it was the 22 that caused the red flag, but
I think you're right, because we saw yellows at turn 11 first.
yes, and what I'm not seeing is a yellow streak of the track, which would indicate there were ever yellows at Les Combes. Was it always covered by red, therefore? And again, I don't understand why Fred Vesti would go off at such a speed, unless he was reacting to the red flag and misjudged his slowing for them. That's difficult to tell. But 47 now being put back to hard standing, and in a moment or two will be driving around as long as the car's restarted.
Well, we'll see whether or not we do get another replay. If we do, it's worth looking for the flag marshals.
Yeah.
Red or not.
Yeah,
but again,
true.
The call on who is going to be allowed to restart this session will absolutely be from race control.
Indeed. We haven't heard any messages from them, either audibly or in the text format, probably because they're going through various different replays and working out the precise timing of what happened. Cars still returning to pit lane as well. And this is, with the clock now stopped, 5 minutes and 40 seconds, potentially eating into the period of time that we would have been expected to race for the final event today. Tyres being changed for the 30 car, yeah.
Now that's the only one that didn't at the start of the session.
Indeed.
So this does give James Allen a bit of a get-out-of-jail free card on this one. At the moment, whilst he has got a near 3-second advantage, something of a sitting duck. But is that still the case? 5 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Australian driver starts rolling down towards pit exit.
So he's put a fair bit of life on one set of race tyres for tomorrow. They're utilising another set, which probably wasn't the original plan, but they must have had a plan B. So it's fine, because it's only going to be a couple of laps, and they were absolutely brand new tyres as well, with the Goodyear sticker still on them.
Vesti's still aboard the car, so he plans to drive this back.
Yes. But we're still waiting for information as to then whether he can go out the other end of the pit lane once he's got it back there.
There's time, because of course he's got to get the car back, but he will need an instruction as to whether or not he's permitted to do that. Pretty clearly the 22 will not.
Yeah.
He gets that chance there, by the way. You can see the ACO and WC branding on that lift bar with universal couplings that are designed to fit every car in the field. So a balanced lift. There'll be a fair amount of gravel, by the way, on the track at that point now. There he goes.
Yes. And tumbling out the back of the car.
That's not going to help the pace. And he does goes offline. That's good. But most of that has been thrown online.
Well, yeah, because you're well over to the right, but the stones are going to bounce every which way.
That's not going to impress race control at all. It almost looked like the gravel version of a muck spreader, didn't it?
But you're wanting to try and make, loosen it as much as possible, both for your benefit and, well, yeah, certainly for the team's benefit, but also to try and get rid of the gravel in the slower portions of the track, rather than spread it at somewhere like Blanchimont. Anyway, the plan now will surely be to allow Fred Vesti to return to the racetrack sorry, not to the racetrack, to the pit lane.
Yes, and then restart.
And then restart. You can't restart whilst the car is circulating at much slower speed. And also, they don't want to restart the session with this amount of gravel on the road surface. So this is what happened to Ben Hanley. We saw this at the time. Way too much curb at turn-in into Pouhon, and the car was already out of control before he got to the apex on the left-hand side. And that's a big sideways skirmish through the gravel.
Lucky to stay out the wall there, because that was very quick.
Yeah. I was going to say, he's lucky he didn't dig in and potentially lift the car on one side. These cars nowadays with the dorsal fin are very difficult to actually roll. But nevertheless, that's high-speed entry into gravel.
So car
sometimes it can
22
bite.
under investigation for causing the red flag.
And no mention of car 47.
At this point.
Yeah.
Well, car 47 may be under investigation for purple dashing the circuit.
I don't think Fred Vesti had much other option other than maybe if the marshals had directed him towards that escape road at Les Combes and he drove over a bit of the grass there, and that very narrow slip of asphalt to then rejoin.
Here's the thing, race driver, session, get the car back.
Too right.
That's
where
the
you've got priority, isn't it?
You know, whether or not you've annoyed race control or indeed anybody else in this field is going to fall second to that at that point. Get the car back.
And you deal with the repercussions at a later segment, or rather your team manager may have to.
Yeah, there's a lot of gravel on this circuit.
Oh, that bit of gravel's got nothing to do with Fred Vesti, because that's between La Source and Eau Rouge, I think, down the hill. So that's just scarring from a busy day's racing. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like we're about 18 hours into the 24-hour race there.
Yeah, session will resume in a short call. We're waiting for the 47 car to get back to pit lane. It's not there yet. It rather shortly will be. It's in the final sector. And then we will get back to green flag running. It will be 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. That should mean, Johnny, most of these cars get 2 flying laps.
Matteo Cairoli there with a poignant message about Luca Persiani on the top of his helmet, I noticed. Fellow Italians.
As we said, by the way, earlier in the afternoon, please do join us for the pre-race tomorrow. There will be a moment to remember Luca Persiani, and if you've not heard that news, terrible news reached Spa-Francorchamps the early part of the week that Luca, a race winner in GTC in 2014 with SMP Racing, but substantially more of a member of the family in the paddock, particularly at Iron Lynx and the Proton family that worked with them, as one of their senior driver coaches was tragically killed in a terrible off-road accident at home in Italy, and as I say, he will be remembered on the grid tomorrow, I believe, with a minute of applause.
Okay.
Is the way in which Iron Lynx have requested and chosen that is marked.
Well, we will make sure that we draw your attention to that. We have the minute-by-minute introduction into the race, the build-up, and quite rightly, space has been allowed into that for the build-up for the 4th race of the year, because it's very important we remember Luca with fond memories, but also so many people that have been affected by that as well. And Iron Lynx. Well, we talked about the qualifying result that they had earlier on. I know that's now under a little bit of a cloud, but that would have been a lift, certainly.
Car 22 confirmed will not be allowed to rejoin the session, causing that red flag. No mention that 47 is under any risk of that.
No.
And we've heard from Steph Wentworth, who's down on pit lane, that the 47 indeed has joined the queue at pit out. We should be back shortly. My guess is they're just taking a look to see whether or not this track needs cleaning.
It definitely does need cleaning. It's a question of how much time they've got, because there's a Michelin Le Mans Cup race to still run this afternoon.
And I think there is a 6 p.m. curfew on a Saturday.
I think it's more likely to be 6:30, only because the advertised finish time of Le Mans Cup was 5 to 6. Gives you 5 minutes of insurance time. So, but it's certainly going to be before, say, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the 24-hour race will run on a specially licensed weekend to run all the way through the night.
And much the same, I believe, with the WC.
Oh, yeah.
There'll be those of you shouting, but it's not that simple and linear. There are, as anybody that follows the politics of motorsport will appreciate, noise has been a clarion call of thousands of people who've moved into well-established areas around well-established racetracks to complain about their property values.
WEC this year, that was that race that there was a lengthy red flag, and then they just tagged it on the end, didn't they? That was an hour and 40 minutes or something 50 like minutes that it carried on into the evening and almost into darkness.
Fairly recently was told, by the way, why we couldn't go any deeper into that and why the red flag recovery was managed in the way that it was. And it's such an extraordinary story that I'm not actually comfortable saying it publicly.
I see.
So this
Are
is
you going to write an article about it?
Yes. This is it's the question as to why they didn't extend the safety car period and allow everybody to fuel as the race recovered to a green flag, which of course meant that you got 2 or 3 cars, 2 Porsches and Alpine, inherited about a minute's advantage because they just pitted before the red flag. Everybody else had to pit and therefore got a profound disadvantage. There is, I'm told, a specific reason why that happened.
Car 47 is not allowed to rejoin the session. They were under investigation, as you were saying, about Spa earlier on in the year. So clearly they've investigated why the 47 car had left the road. My big question about that is, if they were under red flags, why is Fred Vesti going that speed?
Yeah.
To throw the car off the road. He might have been penalised for that.
There is Fred Vesti. He'd have just got that message. The team will be attending to that car, and we are going to be running with 12 and not 14 cars. James Allen's life just got a tiny bit easier.
That's true. I don't know the rule as it's displayed in the regulations word for word, but it might be something like if a car is not able to move and go back to the pit lane, you know, within a certain time period, stranded in the gravel trap, needed outside assistance, then they're just not allowed to continue on.
That also means, by the way, that Fred Vesti in the 47 car will start no better than 11th.
So there's confirmation of the 47 car being pushed the wrong way down pit lane, back to Cool Racing's garage area.
That's done. And that car, against the pace that we can see is available here, is highly likely to start in 14th place. Here we go. So it's 14 becomes 12 with the elimination for this session, causing the red flag, Ben Hanley, and not allowed to restart the session, and that will have been because of an incident either causing a red flag or under the red flag for Fred Vesti. So both United Autosports and Cool Racing lose one of their pair apiece of players in this pole position game. Johnny Palmer under 4 minutes to go, so it should be 2 flying laps per car. We
won't dwell too much more on the 2 cars that can't continue, but I'll just read this part of the regulations. Any car causing a red flag in qualifying session will have all or part of their lap times deleted from that qualifying session. So it might be that both cars have their times scrubbed as well as not being able to rejoin. So that's back of the grid stuff.
I expect them to be 13th and 14th because the other cars are going to improve dramatically in the 2 laps they should be able to get in here.
And as part of that rule, you've got to start with your fastest driver. You can't start with your silver, as so many of these teams will want to do. Quite a queue developing.
Yeah,
so everyone going, no, after you, no, after you. But all it does is just bunch up these 3 cars heading over the start and finish line. 37 is the other Cool Racing car in the entry. That's Ritoma Miata. And then James Allen in behind in the Duquesne colours. The 23, the sole surviving United car, is being driven by Paul Di Resta. Bijoy Garg with dramas earlier on in the week. Was that one of the cars that was involved in the big crash with Rahel Fry?
Entirely blameless, but yes, it was Bijoy's car that came together with Rahel Fry. Rahel simply she mistook one car approaching on the Kemmel She thought it was 2. She didn't see the second car, pulled in behind the first Orica to take the tow, and unfortunately there was an Orica there, and both those cars in the barrier at very high speed. Mercifully, both drivers okay.
Yeah.
The Porsche, as we said, damaged beyond repair here, and the Orica, miraculously, it was albeit a lot of damage, but mainly bodywork.
So that's all been fixed. It's the same car taking part in this session, and will have competed in free practice 2 earlier this morning as well. We had FP1 yesterday at 11 AM and then FP2 following today. But these are the crunch timed sessions ahead of tomorrow's race. James Allen still fastest at this stage, but things are yet to fully settle down, but they'll have to in the next 90 seconds.
But he's one of only 5 drivers not up on his previous time. Everybody else is purple against the time that was set by James Allen before the red flag. So we wait and go. Will Stevens now goes to the top by 52 thousandths of a second, but that's blown away by Charles Malaysia. Panis racing to the top, a 2:01.6. Louis Delatraz, a 2:01.2. It's going to come fast and furious at this point. Still a gaggle of cars to come over. So from being top of the times, instantly James Allen down to 5th.
Delatraz, Milesi, Cairoli, Will Stevens, then James Allen, as you say. And Allen a chance to improve, but won't across the line this time. Ritoma Miata in the 37 car has gained a couple of positions to 7th now for Cool Racing. And Paul Di Resta in the 23 car goes a little faster too.
But Di Resta has got room. I think he's lifted off heavily here. He's going to get this lap anyway, but he's given himself room to manoeuvre here.
Right, yeah.
Front of the queue, and therefore with nobody ahead of him, is Job van Utrecht. He's not up on the pole time, but he's very close. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars purple against the provisional pole timer Louis Delatraz. We're within 10 seconds of the checkered flag coming out. It's this and no more. It's going to be pole position within the next 2 minutes for any one of these 12 cars on this current lap.
The checkered flag is out, and the first car that is expected to cross the line and see that is number 28, being driven by Job van Uitert, pole sitter at Le Castellet when he left it very, very late. Well, he's going to be the first to complete the session this time around.
We're seeing not great times in the middle sector, and is that because of this gravel? The times have tailed off dramatically in the middle sector. We've got some quicker times, but some that are nowhere near you'd expect them to be in these conditions. But still cars up on the pole position time. Again, another one through there. Ritoma Miata losing half a second in the middle sector on what should have been a push lap.
Drugovic in the 10 goes 3rd for Vector Sport, so he's found some time. Delatraz will cross the line now, did not improve, and gets the checkered flag. Cairoli 4th and no better, although that was an improvement, but it didn't get him into the top 3. Tom Dillman for Inter-Europol competition now goes 3rd, and Ritoma Miata follows suit into 4th. So Drugovic was briefly 3rd, he's dropped down to 5th now as a result of that. What about Alex Lynn?
5th.
Alex Lynn 5th for Algarve Pro Racing. I thought it would have been better than that. And Di Resta 6th, slotting in behind to make it an all-British 3rd row.
Giotta 9th, and that's all she wrote. I'm afraid that red flag, and in particular, I suspect the gravel on the track rather spoiled the fun there. It should have been 2 push laps of those teams. It
broke the rhythm for most people, and I wonder actually how many teams were willing to put another set of tyres on there. Did they just keep with the original?
They kept with the second set they put on. The only team that put tyres on in the middle of that session under the red flag was Duquesne.
So rather than think, well, we've kind of gone through a heat cycle with these, let's put another set on, they don't want to go anywhere close to a 3rd set, or maybe the original set that they scrubbed, because tyres in the race tomorrow are so valuable. You only get 3 sets, as I keep stressing, that have to be used not only in tomorrow's race, but in all of this qualifying session. And they're sort of painted into a corner a little bit with the red flag. So how much risk do you want to take on a Saturday afternoon, and most teams go, do you know what, wherever we start from, we want to be in a better position come the race tomorrow.
Delighted faces of Johnny Edgar and Robert Kubica in the AO by TF garage. Louis Delatraz it is that sets the pole position. We nearly got there last time with AO by TF. They're on pole position, and Louis Delatraz stands again at the gates of an extraordinary result. If they take the win tomorrow, that means that Delatraz will have taken overall race wins in the European Le Mans Series every one of the last 4 years for 4 different teams.
Okay, yeah, that's a top pub quiz question in the ELMS themed night, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be that's what I would call a kind of very niche market.
But a 4th different team car on pole this year as well, from 4 different qualifying sessions. So United, EDEC, Panis, and now AO by TF. A 201.253. It felt fairly unspectacular when it happened, and we thought there was going to be further improvement. It turned out not to be the case. Charles Milesi, who did snatch pole position in Imola, will start on the front row with the AO by TF car. Tom Dillman leaving it pretty late to put the Inter-Europol competition car, number 43, on the second row, along with Ritoma Miata for Cool Racing. Alex Lynn, Paul Di Resta for Algarve Pro, and United Autosports will start from 5th and 6th places, respectively. Felipe Drugovic for Vector Sport, alongside Matteo Cairoli for Iron Lynx Proton. But it is Tom Dillman sharing with Vlad Lomko and Sebastian Alvarez, who will start from the inside of row 2 in the Inter-Europol competition colours. Here's the Panis racing car number 65 of Charles Milesi, Manuel Maldonado and Arthur Leclerc. But a first pole of the season for Louis Delatraz and for AO by TF, sharing with Robert Kubica and Johnny Edgar, who were very, very chuffed with that down in the TF garage. We can now, in fact, get some reaction to Louis' time. Louis still on the track, returning to pit lane, so a chance to catch up with one of his teammates now joining Steph Wentworth.
I am joined by Johnny Edgar, co-driver of the man who's just put it on pole, Louis Delatraz, for AO by TF. Congratulations. It feels like it's been a long time coming for you guys to get here, and you showed the pace today.
Yeah, I think, we haven't managed to get a pole this year yet, and qualifying's probably been where we've struggled more than the race, so it's nice to start on pole, and obviously it's the best place to be in. Yeah, Louis did an amazing job. I think the lap before the red flag was he was on a good one, and then after it he did, 2 laps that were good enough for pole, so yeah, I think he couldn't have done anything more, and the team did a really good job with the car. This morning was difficult, but we managed to, fix the small problems we had this morning, so yeah, everyone's done a great job.
You had a 3rd, and then you've had a 2nd. Is this the weekend where you're going to get the 1st?
Yeah, hopefully. I think we've been, wanting to get that win, and it'd be, nice to get it now, but I think the main thing for the championship is just, having consistent results, so you can't really plan the race. There can be safety cars, VSCs, all of that, so I think we'll just, try and get through the first lap and then, see what happens from there. You can't plan too much because, it's anything can happen, but we're starting in the best place, and I think the car's good, and obviously my 2 teammates always do a great job, so I think we have everything there to be able to win.
All right, best of luck. Thank you so much, Johnny.
Thank you.
Yep, they've got their dander up, haven't they? Robert Kubica is there congratulating each and every team member. It's a team game, sports car racing. It's one of the reasons we love it so very much. Rather took the sting out of that, I thought, but nonetheless, great performance from AO by TF, Johnny. Lots more action to come both this afternoon and, crucially, tomorrow.
Yeah, so tomorrow's race is an 11:30 start local time, but we will be on YouTube 20 minutes before that for all of the build-up and the moment of applause for Luca Persiani, who sadly we lost in recent days. However, that's not all our racing done for today, because starting probably in the next 2 or 3 minutes, you can head over to the Michelin Le Mans Cup feed on YouTube to join Graham Goodwin over there, Johnny Palmer over here, for an hour and 50 minutes for the latest round of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. So we'll see you for that.